My life is just a really bad country music song because of all the crap that has happened to us in short succession. So, like, this whole story begins with Taylor's cat, like, about what, a couple years ago?
About
Or
3 years ago, she was diagnosed with feline leukemia, which is not cancer, but it
it's
is
a virus.
it's a virus contagious to other cats. And she has, for the past 3 years, steadily declined, going from having occasional accidents to accidents all the time.
This December or the previous December, it was just getting worse and worse. Like, Farah eventually just stopped eating. We tried everything we could.
Paralysis of her back
Yeah,
legs.
she started walking in circles. So, like, we did everything in our power. We took her to the vet. They gave us medicine that would basically make her have an appetite.
And then that stopped working after about 4 days.
Yeah.
So, which they did say was going to happen.
Yeah, they said it would work for a little while. We were just faced with a difficult decision. Farah's health keeps declining. And finally, like, well, we want to have one last Christmas with Farah. Let's spend some more time with her because, obviously she's not going to make it much longer. Then I forget the exact day, but it was a Monday. We just make the decision because Farah, like, every time we go in the room, Farah's just like, it's like basically like the human equivalent of like, I've had enough. If Farah could talk and be like, guys, really?
Well, at this point, she can't be around the other cats.
She did not move for it. The day before we, unfortunately, we'll get to that part of it, but she did not move for the last day of her life.
Besides me holding her.
Yeah, like you held her, she stayed in the bed, and we pretty much knew like Farah did not have much longer, regardless of what happened. So I made a very difficult decision. We took Farah to the vet, and pretty much they're like, "Do you want us to do blood work? Is there anything you want us to do?" And we're like, "No, it's Farah's time. Like there's no getting better because feline leukemia has no cure, no real treatment. Just trying
and
to
a vaccine that actually isn't super great." So
yeah, just unfortunately, Farah rolled a natural one with that. She got a terrible disease and it afflicted her horribly. So we unfortunately had to put Farah to sleep, which is very difficult.
She was my first pet that I got for myself. So
Taylor was beside herself, and that's all bad enough. That's all horrible enough. To lose a pet, and they had a very special connection. I mean, Farah literally wandered up to Taylor at her school one day when she was in high school, and she had her for that long. So that all happened. We buried Farah, and it's like we're just really upset and sad that Farah's no longer in our life. She's no longer here. So we're just trying to deal with that. And literally the night after that, our old man Yujiro,
the very next night.
Now, this is no exaggeration. It's literally the next night. Yujiro throws up his dinner, and we're like, okay, Yujiro, if anyone's been around Yujiro, he has a sensitive stomach, so it's not unheard of for Yujiro to throw up some food.
And he's a sensitive dog, so we chalked it up to
maybe he's sad
because he doesn't even like cats. He doesn't like our other two cats, but he actually really liked Farah. So that's what we thought it was, which is why we didn't take him then. But also, it wasn't abnormal for him to get sick every now and again.
Yeah, right.
Plus, he had just gotten into a ton of candies. So.
Yeah, Yujiro is like most dogs. He's very curious. He tries to get into trash. If food gets left on the ground, he's going to eat it. We didn't think very much of it. Like, Yujiro's probably going to feel better tomorrow. But Yujiro continuously threw up. We're like, okay, maybe he's going to be okay. Maybe this is no big deal. The next day, throwing up. But then he stopped. And we're like, well, maybe it's a 24-hour thing. Like, you try to be, like, optimistic when these things happen. Like, it's not going to be anything. It's not going to become this ordeal or, that dominates your life. And then Thursday, I just see Yujiro, like, laying around. He's very lethargic. And he doesn't want to eat anything.
He was laying with his head in between his paws
like
this and just, like...
We tried to feed him
staring out
anything you could imagine just to see if he would eat anything.
Chips, popcorn.
He would not eat.
And he wasn't interested in it. In fact, he would like do his lip up like this. Like, ew, that's disgusting. Get that away from me.
So we just knew, like, at that point.
Yeah, this dog is not wanting this kind of stuff.
This is not normal. Something's really serious is going on with Yujiro, or there's something we need to get resolved. So we'll go to the vet because, Yujiro's barely drinking. He's not eating. He needs to be on fluids. We need to figure something out. They go to the vet.
This is the first vet.
This is our first vet.
And this is a small town vet.
But we're not super even after all this, we're not super concerned.
I talked to my mom, who was very, my mom and I have raised dogs, done all kinds of dog shows, personal. I mean, she knows everything about dogs. She's like, oh, just go get him on some fluids, because he's old. So
Yeah.
that'd be the best bet.
We go to the first vet. It's like, okay, we need to do blood work. We need to take X-rays. We need to look. We need to figure something out. So his blood work comes back because that's the first thing. They're like, well, we need to really figure out what's going on with him. And his liver levels, they're like, it's not
Sky high.
they're like, it's not this one. I think it's like ATL is not even measurable by our machine. Like, now we don't have the most sophisticated machine. Like, there probably is a measurable reading, but we can't measure it here. His bilirubin, another metric of like tracking like his liver levels, is really elevated. His pancreas seems inflamed.
Yeah, we think it's pancreatitis. That was the first diagnosis.
Yeah, they're like, we think it could be pancreatitis. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone here that stays. This is Friday by this point. Remember, this started on a Monday, so then we're on Friday. He needs to go to an emergency vet. Like, they're gonna have to keep treating him because all we can do here is put him up to a drip, and that's it. He's going to get an IV fluid, but we're not checking on him. We're not looking after him. We're like, okay, great. Because we've already me and Taylor have some savings. So we've already spent a lot of money there. And we're like, okay, well, we got to do it because, we want Yujiro to get better. And we don't even know what's wrong with him at this point. Like, they're saying, a lot of people said cancer. That kept being floated around. Like, this could be cancer.
Yeah, at the first vet,
they think it could be cancer
because of the highly elevated,
or
levels.
It could be toxicity. Like, maybe Yujiro ate something. We don't know. We go in there and we're like, okay, I'll take Yujiro over to this emergency vet. So we drive to Shreveport, which is the nearest place to an emergency vet. We go there and it's like, okay, we're going to take good care of him, blah, blah, blah. They do the whole spiel. Taylor drops him off and it's like, well, we're just going to have to wait till we can go to this. There's another vet in this area that we wanted to go to.
Oh, and by the way, that's going to be $2,000.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Although they give you a price range.
Yeah, it's going to be from $1,400, which you have to pay right now. So
right then.
Right this second. And that's the low
to $2,500.
$2,800.
Oh, sorry, $2,800.
But yes. Yeah.
And we're like, okay, well, yet again, we're like, we want to do anything we can to help you, Yujiro. Let's just do it. So me and Taylor, we pay them that. And we're like, okay, well, so let's just see what these results are going to be. Like, let's see if they can do anything while they're there, because they can work stuff up too. Like, it's a veterinary office, but they just deal with emergency cases. Really the first day, like the night there, it's just like, we're concerned he might be bleeding. So they do a blood clotting profile on him. He's bleeding. He's clotting normally. So it's like, okay, he's moving around right now in his cone. They do all that, and they're like, okay, well, that's all good. So we'll have to see. So the next day, which is a Saturday at this point, we get a call from our vet over there, and they say, look, this doctor, I forget her name, is really good with doing ultrasounds. We think we should ultrasound Yujiro's abdomen and look at his liver and look at everything and see what we can. Yujiro's trying to interrupt the video. He's like, talking about me.
This is about you.
Well, I can hear his name over and over again. So they do that. And they're like, okay, we'll let you know. And they do it late at night. So there's already the stress of like, Yujiro's at an emergency animal hospital. They're going to do a late night diagnostic procedure to see if they can figure anything out. They've been testing his blood this whole time, and his levels are still high, of course. Like, okay, maybe they can do this ultrasound, and this will tell us what's wrong. This will reveal like the cause of this. So we get a call maybe 1 o'clock in the morning because they said it was going to be late.
Yeah, they're like, just know it's going to be super late. And we said it's fine because we're not sleeping. Yeah, by the way, since the whole ordeal with Pharaoh, Scotty and I
he's not drinking full of water, is he?
No, he's drinking out of the, that's what he wanted. He's drinking out of a bowl. This whole time we've been sleeping maybe 3 hours a night. So like for a week and a half.
So we're just stressed. Our Saturday night is spent like, okay, hopefully we get good news. And they call us up with probably is the worst possible news you're going to hear for like any person or any animal or any person, like anyone you'd ever care about or anything you'd ever care about. That we found a mass on Yujiro's liver. It's really
and remember, 4 centimeters by 6 centimeters. Thank you, Yujiro. I'm keeping this in here.
Yeah, we're just going to keep this in because obviously we have to keep a close eye on Yujiro. So technical difficulties caused by dog, but it's the dog we're talking about. So we'll take it. So this massive tumor is on his liver. At this point, we're basically telling you it's cancer and you really need to look at putting Yujiro down. So of course, at first they're like, so what do you want to do? Basically like saying, should we put Yujiro right down right then and there?
Yeah, right then. She said, we can go ahead and take care of this.
And we're like,
we're not there, by the way. This is a dog that we've told them he has had for 13 years. Okay.
Well, I mean, whatever. I mean, obviously they're dispassionate. It's their job.
But here's the point, though, is that they said to us, you can't be 100%, but we're very certain that it's liver cancer.
So at first, me and Taylor are almost like, we obviously break down emotionally because like no one wants to hear that news. It's like some of the worst news. Like, it's like a cliche, like you have cancer. I'm sorry, like, so you hear that and immediately we're just like, I just can't believe it. Yujiro's has this horrible cancer. And I mean, like, and we're like, well, what are the treatment options? And they're like, well, I got to be honest with you, with liver cancer, dogs very rarely ever survive this. It's very unlikely, even if he had surgery, the best surgery place in the country, that he would even survive it, kind of thing. So they basically make it seem like this is ultra bleak. This is super bleak. You really got to make a decision on this. You don't want the animal to suffer. You don't want your dog to suffer.
Yeah, think about their quality of life.
Yeah, and we're just like, so at first we're almost like, maybe we should just, put Yujiro down. And obviously, because when you're faced with that, you don't want to be the person that's making the animal that you love suffer. But we think about it and we really read up about liver cancer treatments and everything else. And we're like,
it's actually not that bad.
It's actually not that bad because the liver can actually, a lot of it can be removed and it can regenerate itself. And we don't know for sure. And we really want a second opinion. So they're like, okay, yeah, that place, we're going to take our dog to another animal hospital, the best one in this area. And like, okay, yeah, it's a good place. Good luck with that kind of thing. We'll just keep him stable until, he can be moved over there. So Sunday is pretty uneventful. We're just kind of like waiting for him to go.
The other place is not open until Monday. So.
Yeah, he's stable. He's good those days. We really want him to eat. We go visit him and hope, like maybe we can get him to eat something.
He doesn't.
Spoiler. He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't eat a thing. No.
But he was happy to see us, which
he looked a little bit better because he'd been on the fluids and stuff, but he could still tell Yujiro was just in a lot of pain. He was in a lot of anguish. He just something was still wrong. And obviously at that point we believed it was cancer because of what they had told us. So we're basically going with the assumption Yujiro is going to be treated for cancer. Another thing about Yujiro's got a lot of like fatty deposits on him that he got as his age. He gets a lot of skin tags and stuff. So I think to them, looking at him, it's like it's got to be cancer of some kind. So Monday rolls around. Taylor gets up and goes there super early. She gets Yujiro and takes him over to this other animal hospital that has a lot of the better equipment, has a lot more vets. It was kind of the premier place to go in the Shreveport area.
Yep, University Veterinary Hospital.
Yeah, so we take him there. And Taylor basically shows up there with the sick dog.
I didn't even tell him I was coming.
I completely commend this vet and this veterinary team in this office because Taylor showed up with a very, very sick animal.
I'm like, he can't even get out of the car, so we need a stretcher or something. Like, we actually ended up just taking his bed and putting him in a little, well, I say little, he's a 75-pound dog. We put him in a pup-rito, okay?
Yeah, it becomes a pup-rito or a pup taco or whatever you want to call it.
And I just told him, I'm like, hey, I'm here with my dog. So like, let's fix it.
But they're a large veterinary practice though. So they can actually,
they took him right then.
They took him right in. And of course, it's going to be expensive, but like at the same time, we're like, well, we want to do whatever we can for Yujiro. We don't want to give up on him. And we at least want to know, like, we want to be told that if we're going to put Yujiro down, this is a hopeless case. Like, you've hit the point where there's nothing medical science can do for him.
Exhausted your resources.
Yeah, like there's no other, no stone has been left unturned. They go through a full workup on him. They do blood work. They do ultrasound. They send it off to a specialist, like a radiologist, to look at it and try to confirm this diagnosis because they said, well, they suspect it's cancer. And that's when it does a 180.
Sure does.
Yujiro did not have liver cancer. Yujiro had a deeply infected, horrible looking gallbladder. They're like, his gallbladder needs to come out. It's like
And by the way, there is no 4 by 6 centimeter mass on his liver because they can't find one on there at all.
Yeah, they looked for that. That wasn't there, but a bad gallbladder they did find. And I've not been sleeping. Taylor has to wake me up. Like she does the thing literally like in a movie where like you're like, huh? That's literally how I woke up. I did the reality. Oh shit, the dismal reality I'm living in right now. She basically gives me the rundown. Yujiro's gallbladder, blah blah blah. But you need to make a decision because they do not have a board certified surgeon at this veterinary practice. The nearest one is either in Dallas, Texas, or in Baton Rouge, Louisiana,
or in New Orleans.
They have some there, but there's none in this area. You'll have to go somewhere else. Or you'll have to be lucky if there's a traveling surgeon coming to this area who's board certified. We call the vet back, and I just basically ask him, like, is Yujiro well enough to travel? And she goes, yes. And I'm like, would it be better for you guys to do the surgery or to take him there? And they're like, 100% to take him to LSU or take him to Baton Rouge. And we're like, okay. So I'm basically like, I woke up and then I have to go to Baton Rouge. Like,
Yep, right then.
and that for us is about a 4.5, maybe 5 hour drive. Just depends
We
on
have to set up a place for our other animals to stay. We have to get family members to get our kids, because obviously they cannot go. Scotty can't do this by himself. This is going to be like an all night ordeal yet again.
yeah, it's not a fun thing.
It was a lot.
So our vet calls this other veterinary practice. And poor Yujiro has to go. This is where the story takes a kind of a crappy turn for Yujiro, but ultimately, I think for the better.
Oh yes.
So we drive down this other. It's basically a 24-hour like emergency clinic, kind of animal hospital in Baton Rouge, and right attached to it is a surgical hospital for animals. So it's like you can get your dog surgery there and have them taken care of in one spot. So you don't have to move your dog or transport a dog that just had surgery, which obviously, depending on the surgery, is a no-no. You don't want to move the dog or animal or the cat or whatever right after that. Not a good idea. We show up there and it's like, our vet's like, oh, I've called them. They're going to be expecting you. They're going to do the surgery. Everything's going to be good. This is a board, like a board certified surgeon, because like not every vet is that. It's there's like another like set of credentials you have to get. So we go, okay, cool. We go down there, keep in mind, we've driven like 5 hours, basically we have hardly had any sleep for days. We had to just get in our car and go, maybe after a couple hours notice, drive down there. We get there and it's like, okay, hi, yes, I'm here to bring Yujiro.
Yeah, it's about 10:30 at night too.
Yeah. So keep in mind this whole odyssey for that day on this Monday. So basically about a week later has started about 1:00 and now it's about 9 hours later of just nonstop. We're just gotta go. And they're like, what? Someone's like, what? Huh? I literally asked her, I'm like, am I at the right place? And she's like, oh yeah, you're at the right place. Yeah. I fill out a form, with my information. Well, I fill out some of it. I'm like, Taylor, you got to fill this out because they actually have to be able to read the form. If I fill out the form, you're not going to be able to read it. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we know about it. It's good. We'll bring him back here. We go back to a waiting room. A vet comes in and says, John Luke, your dog, John Luke, which at the time we were totally confused. But
we were
Yujiro,
so confused.
But for some reason, we had John Luke's collar on Yujiro, probably just in the chaos of everything. I'm like, no, it's Yujiro. Like, the guy kind of looked like we were lying to him, but he's like, whatever, I don't care. I'm just, if you want to say that.
Well, what was crazy, and I just now thought about it, is
what?
I asked him, I'm like, how would you even know that that's our other dog's name? And he's like, I don't know. And
let me tell you this.
He just read the collar.
Yeah, let me tell you this.
That's fucking wild.
When you're in a bad situation, if you want anyone else to come and intervene and show up, you want someone who's rock solid, is like, inspires confidence in you. The vet that walked in,
oh my God,
did not inspire he did the opposite. I'm like,
he was like standing there like, hold on.
He was standing there like he could not make eye contact with any of us. He shifted around the room. He was not able to actually, like, we didn't have a conversation. I know it's weird to say that, but we would say things to him and he just would say things back that were like tangentially related, but he didn't directly respond to what we were saying for the most part.
Just like this. It was the weirdest thing to have someone stand at a table in front of you and absolutely not make eye contact and look as though they're having a worse day than you.
And he's like, look,
and you just heard that your dog has to get
he's like, look,
surgery, so.
I ultrasound your dog, John Luke or Yujiro, back there real quick. Yeah, we do think there is something wrong with his gallbladder. It does need to come out. I agree with that. This is very painful. We're going to get him on pain medication. We're going to do all this stuff. But the doctor, I'm not sure if the doctor's going to be here to do the surgery.
We're like,
oh, okay. He's been having family problems. We're like,
well, that's good.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, stuff happens. I got you. Let me make a quick call and I'll get back with you guys.
Me, you, and your mom are like,
and we're just like, yeah. By the way, props to my mom who had drove all the way out. I had to stay with my mom for like 5 days because that's why I picked Baton Rouge over, go say Dallas or whatever, because my mom and Steve live fairly close to Baton Rouge. driving distance. That's not too far away.
Your mom is the real MVP of this whole thing.
Yeah.
By
So
the way, she's with us the whole step of the way.
we're like looking at me. I look at my mom. I look at Taylor. And I'm like, oh. The doctor comes back about
Marital
20
problems.
I
don't know if I want him
the
inside my
shiftiest
dog.
doctor, the vet you've ever met, comes back about 20 minutes later and is like, the doctor's just not going to be able to do it. He's got family problems. It's just not going to be the earliest it could happen is Wednesday. And obviously this is an emergency sort of situation. So you're just going to, I don't know.
We could do it.
We could do it. We could keep him stable, but I think your better option is take him to LSU.
We're like, we agree. We're
like, at that point, we're just like, yeah, this has been so strange and so bizarre to be told, like, because they told our vet, there's no way they said, well, look, the doctor maybe might it could happen. We don't know. We'll have to see what's going on with his family that day. Like, they were probably told rock solid, yeah, you can bring the animal down here and get surgery. Because why else would she send us there? So we're like, no. I basically just walk after the guy leaves. I walk out of the exam room and I'm like, get my dog, let's get the fuck out of here. And by the way, Yujiro keeps pissing on himself because he can't really get up and move. He's in a horrible state.
Yeah, he's bad.
So it's like we're constantly cleaning up after him. We're constantly cleaning beds and blankets and everything else. And they basically come out like Yujiro's like a roast or something. Like they have a rickety wire cart.
I sent him in with a bed that they then gave to me and were like, go put this in your car or whatever. Now the last vet had him out on a stretcher, like a medical stretcher when they brought him back. And this vet, it looked like what you would see in a restaurant back a house. We're talking about a large wire bar cart, basically, with double, it even had double layers to it, like double shelves, meaning that there is no fucking way that was made to transport an animal who is so sick, he's pissing on himself, can't pick his head up. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I don't know what that was about.
If
it
anything,
was really weird. I was like, stop, please stop. And I told him when they were pulling him out, I said, he has arthritis. No, please stop. Please. I'm begging you to stop. So
yeah, that's just awful. So you take a sick dog, move him back there, have a bunch of people with their hands on him, move him around, and have to move him right back out.
Yeah. That was the worst part of the trip for me, was because I know that was painful
Yujiro, don't do it again. At that point, our option is to go to LSU. They're not expecting us. I'm showing up basically Monday night at 11 o'clock at night with a really sick animal and just going, hey, want to treat my dog? Hope so.
We had to do it again.
So you show up there. They're extremely nice. There's a bunch of first-year vet students and people interning and everything else. They actually have a real way of transporting you out of the car.
They brought a real stretcher, one that like pumps up and lifts
we're like,
up.
do we need to lift this up? And the girl's like, no. I'm not saying girl. The woman was like, no. And she just taps it up and it goes, boop. We take Yujiro's bed.
And we just kind of slide
him off. We all walk back with him until they get to the point.
And LSU, it was all about his comfort, like, oh, let's make sure that he's comfortable this whole way.
Yeah. So we go there. They're amazing. They're awesome. I have to wait forever. Taylor Lily falls asleep like this.
Yeah, I'll put it.
Her head is, there's
there.
actually there's a picture. Put the picture in. We'll put the picture.
I'll put it somewhere over there.
Yeah, we'll see the picture. Taylor just passes out. She's like, I've had enough.
I've been awake for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. I don't blame her for passing out. Me and my mom were laughing.
Yeah, by this point, when I passed out, it was about 12:20, and then Scotty woke me up and he said, why don't you just go sleep in the car? And I did. I went and just like immediately curled up in the back seat.
So I give them the information. I gave them Yujiro's history and everything that goes on.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened after I went to sleep.
We basically gave them Yujiro's history, everything that happened until then. We gave them the files we had from their other vet. And they're like, okay. No, unfortunately, a cat had come in really sick. They tried to save the cat's life. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, which really sucked. But we had to wait a long time because of that. But we told them, like, we understand. Like, we're in the same boat. If our dog was the one that was like that, we'd want him to get treatment too. And he was getting treated at the time, but he just wasn't, the cat was an emergency surgery. So that all the vets on call at that time at night were really trying to save that cat's life. So just, unfortunate. So we had to stay there till about 3:30 in the morning to get Yujiro fully checked in and go through that whole process. And, they pretty much said initially they agreed with that assessment, but because it's a teaching hospital, there's internal medicine and then there's surgical division.
Yes, like a soft tissue.
So basically they said, look, we have to do a full workup here before we're going to do this surgery because we have to know on our end, that is the diagnosis and that is the correct way to proceed. Which after they did all the diagnostics, they pretty much did agree. But at this point, it's probably 3:30 in the morning. I guess it's Tuesday morning now. Technically, it's early morning Tuesday, and then we have to drive back another hour. So that's part of the story I didn't tell. That place we went to before, we had to drive 20 minutes back because LSU, the animal hospital, is right on the river. It's right on the Mississippi River. So I had to drive back 20 minutes, and then we have about another hour and a half, or roughly or so, to drive back, and it's 3:30 in the morning. We don't get
to our base camp
to get back to my mom's house. We get there about 5 o'clock in the morning. We're all exhausted. I ate like a frozen Smucker's peanut butter and jelly sandwich because I saw those. I'm like, I'm eating this. Give this to me now.
All, so
Taylor's like, I'm too tired to eat. I just want to sleep. She passes out. And then the next day they're like, look, we've done all diagnostic work we need to do. He basically, he needs surgery. His gallbladder has got to come out.
Before it ruptures.
Because like, this is not like, we think he's not looking good. We need to do this now. And by the way, in the meantime, when we dropped Yujiro off, because me and Taylor had spent so much money, I had to ask my mom at that point to pay for a surgery, which, mind you, this is 3:30 in the morning. Like, it's between $4,000 and $10,000. I'm just like, just let me sign my life away. I'm like, because at this point, I'm like, if there's a way to help Yujiro, I just want to do it. If I have to pay it off over 10 years or whatever I have to do.
Ma, can I have a loan?
Yeah, like, I've got to do it. It doesn't matter. His life is more important than any amount of money. So it is what it is. I'm just going to pay it. If I have to borrow it from my mom like I did, I'm just going to borrow it and I'm going to pay her back. And that's what I'm going to do. Because at that point, the way I said to Taylor, I said the whole time is, so many people have doubted him. So many people have said, like, just put him down. I'm like, but if it was me that needed help, Yujiro would not quit on me. So I cannot quit on him. Even if it does suck financially, even if it is a hard pill to swallow, I've just got to do it.
That was the craziest part to me, was that every step of this way, I wasn't super upset. And I had vets looking at me like I was crazy because they're like, oh, your dog is really sick. He's probably not going to make it. And I'm like, well, I think he is. So, I think he's, and I kept telling them, y'all don't know him. You really don't. You don't know this dog. I know that he still wants to be here. When we visit him in the emergency vet, that's when I knew. And that's really why we went there, was to gauge, like, so because with Pharaoh, we had just dealt with this. Pharaoh was meowing pathetically. And I don't mean that like in a mean way, but I mean, it was just like, like really sad. You could tell. But with Yujiro, it was like he was trying. He just couldn't, because we didn't know it, but he had a organ in him that was dead. And it was hurting so badly.
So basically, Yujiro, like when we went there that day, there was still like a fight in Yujiro. There was still like a life to him, where it's like, if an animal's ready or not ready, and we knew he was, he was not ready to go. So they're
but
like,
not LSU. LSU was not like that. That's the first LSU, one that wasn't like that.
And like, I really commend them. And I'll tell you why. Because like literally, like someone brought a sick rat in. And they had vets show up in the middle of the night. They gave the rat oxygen. They did everything they could. I don't think the rat actually made it, unfortunately.
But they tried their damnedest.
But like, even a rat gets respect and treatment there. Just to put it that way. Like, it doesn't matter what animal you have. They pretty much treat everything. So like I said, they agreed, Yujiro needs surgery. So like, there was pushback, I think initially, because he was very stable. But I think once they actually saw everything, the full picture on their end, they're like, he needs surgery. So that night, it's like, okay, we're going to give you guys a call, but sometime this afternoon or early evening, Yujiro's going into surgery. He's the main surgery for the day. They basically have a colonoscopy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, this is 8 o'clock on
Tuesday.
Yeah, 8 a.m.
8 a.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah. So
like, he's got to go into surgery. At this point, this is last week.
They call me and they tell me to wait for the call from them
saying, hey, we're going to go ahead with the surgery.
Saying like he's going under and all that. So
about 2:30, 3 o'clock, they're like, we're going to
give us a call.
Like, he's about to go into surgery. We estimate it could be about 2 hours. Now, obviously, there's pre and post operative stuff that has to be done. So we're not going to give you a hard and fast time.
Yeah, they said we don't like to do this, but it's
not going to be set in stone. So you're just going to have to accept. Like, and they told us, something they told LSU told us over and over again was, no news is good news. To be honest with you, like if we're calling you a bunch, that's probably not great news.
Yeah. So like, what they told me is that we will call you if there is a problem,
If there's a complication,
or we're going to call you when it's done. So me, Scotty, Terry, Stevie, TJ, Chelsea, we're all sitting here well, they're in whatever. The point is that we were all waiting for them to call us. It's 3:30, then it's 4:30, it's 5:30, 6:30, it's 7:30.
I remember like 7 o'clock. Taylor's like, we need to call him. I'm like, no.
That's not what I said. No. You were the one that said we should call you. Lying son of a bitch.
That's not. No, actually, it's not what happened.
Maybe I said maybe we should call. I don't know. And I said, but then I was like, we should. No, I don't know.
No,
it was you.
That was not me. No. Well, that's not the point of the video.
Lying son of a bitch.
No, you're the lion. But however it happened, it was not me saying we should call.
Wait, maybe it was your mom.
But I was like, no, let these.
Maybe it was your mom.
I'm like, these vets have got to do their work. They're gonna call us. They haven't forgotten about us. They know we're here. And finally, we get a call at 7:30, and we're just like. And when you,
I know who it was.
When you get a call like that,
I know who it was. It was my mom. I'm sorry. It was my mom.
When you get a call like that, it's really difficult because you know the call is going to go one of two ways. So you immediately want to hear the person's tone and everything else, and you just don't know what they're going to say.
I just remember like the whole room stopped breathing, really.
And they basically told us that they called it a tedious surgery. So it was really long, complicated, and it was a very unique case because Yujiro, his gallbladder had been failing for so long and become necrotic that his body had walled off. He's now leaking gallbladder.
It created this large cell wall around the gallbladder as it was basically a slow leak. So it had already ruptured. That's already a rupture.
But it happened so slowly that his body was able to basically contain it from not spreading
into his abdomen and creating
sepsis.
So they were like, this is incredible. We've never seen a gallbladder this bad. And we also haven't seen this happen, Yeah.
So like, it really was a unique case.
Because, I told them they didn't know Yujiro.
Because I mean, Yujiro was just like, I mean, no, I read studies about dogs that had this because obviously you're looking for any bit of information, and his thing was very, very rare to be presented the way it was. It was not common, and I don't know about this the wall, the body making a wall around this. Like I didn't read that anywhere else. I'm not saying it hasn't happened; it probably has. But Yujiro's extremely lucky. Let's just put it that way. Like, so he has a very complicated surgery. It takes several hours longer than they anticipated because of they have to do special things. Like they have to go through his duodenum to make a cut in order to basically get through that thick wall that his gallbladder, that other cells had made.
That was what they said was the most tedious part, was dissecting the gallbladder because of how thick it was.
And luckily for us, I mean, like, if I can tell you this, if he'd got the surgery here, if he'd gotten the surgery anywhere, but anywhere but a veterinary school or one of the best animal hospitals in the country, I don't think he would have made it through the surgery.
I just don't. I think it's because these students, they're all wanting to make a name for themselves. They are all wanting to and they're all learning this new technology. LSU is
the main surgeon was the one who did the surgery, but they had the assistance of many other professors there. They had a whole
first-year surgical residents.
Yeah, they had a whole team really trying to make it happen.
He had 4 anesthesiologists on him, 4 of them.
So it's like he had this whole incredible team just come together, and I mean, just happened so fast to have the surgery be a success, and they're like, it's really good. So they're really pleased with the results of the surgery, especially considering the state of his gallbladder. He gets through that. They're like, look, we'll see, maybe even about he can get out of here the next day. Now he did have some trouble because they put him on fentanyl. I was like, God damn, he drills on fentanyl. But it's used in a medical setting. It's actually a patch they put on the dog.
Well,
he got really high. He was super high. Yujiro was super high.
He looks super high right now. But what we told him is, we said he's an older dog. He's 13. We want him to be there. We're already in this, you know what I mean? So let's have him there as long as we can. We want at least 72 hours.
Yeah,
because that's the most critical time.
And Yujiro, I mean, I can tell you. I mean, if it was a movie. That's how it's played out. I'm not, and I say that no exaggeration. It's like Yujiro gets the surgery, and just day after day since that surgery has
better
been
and better.
I mean,
better than before. Even he was sick.
Yeah,
seriously.
Honestly, he's doing better now than before. He obviously he had a lot of problems walking. He has he's a torn ACL from when he was a puppy. So he still has a little bit of gait problems, but I mean, beyond that, Yujiro was doing extremely well after 3 days. The wound site, I mean, obviously was kind of he looked like a mangled little thing.
I'll put pictures there.
But every day since
stuff.
then, it's gotten better. He was a nightmare getting him to take his pills. He was on a bunch of antibiotics and pain pills for a couple days. He's gone through the whole course of that. And I mean, up until this point, it's been, let's see, he had the surgery last Tuesday. And so it's been about 9 days. But Yujiro's progress has been just truly remarkable. I mean, today he's walking around, he's using the bathroom normally. He wants to eat like crazy. Like, we know the old Yujiro is back. When everything we started eating dinner, Yujiro was right there. And he's like,
now he's got this cone, so like he hits everything. So we hear this.
Yeah, unfortunately for him,
sounds.
he has to have a cone for at least 2 weeks because he has internal sutures, and they're like, they'll rip him out, so you got to keep this cone on. He hates it. He does this. He shakes his head all the time. But I mean, Yujiro, like, you could not hope for a better outcome. And honestly, if anything, I just want to thank everyone for all their support. The messages you guys have sent. TJ. And my mom, especially, just coming through in such a huge way. I've set up a GoFundMe for Yujiro. Now, this is basically the reason I've done this. Is I want to pay my mom back as quickly as possible. The money I have to spend, whatever, like, to me, like, if I get an animal, like, I sign up for life, whatever it is I have to do, I'm doing it.
We just personally can't do it right now.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's because the past year and a half has been fucking crazy for us. To be frank, we went through a hurricane. A tree hit our house. We had mold grow out throughout that house for 7 months.
Yeah, our landlord wouldn't fix it.
Well,
we wouldn't fix it. The landlord wouldn't fix it.
We had to move in with my parents.
Yes.
With 5 animals.
Which is always fun.
And 2 kids. Tried to look for a house. The real estate market, I'm sure. So we had setback after setback after setback. Then we had to pay all this money to get a house finally where we can be and make content.
Our cat gets sick.
It's been crazy.
That's why I said my life is a bad.
And our computer is broken.
Oh yeah, that's another thing.
And by the way, I guess the guy who's fixing our computer is stealing it because he hasn't responded.
We
don't know. Maybe something's going on. I don't know.
I think we should need to call him.
It's been
but to me, honestly, the computer fans like such like.
Oh, and I've had 3 root canals.
Yeah, that too.
At like $3,000 a piece. So
that's always fun.
It's been good.
So I mean, life is challenging for everyone, though. I don't want to make it seem like I mean, look, I got people that care about me.
This is all for Yujiro. That's the point.
Yeah, this is for Yujiro, and you guys can see here, the bills. I mean, there's quite a few of them. But honestly, we think it's worth it for Yujiro. At the end of the day, I mean, I think the best advice I can give anyone with this, if you're in a situation like this, if there is hope for the animal, then try to give it to them. I mean, like, not everyone has an awesome mother that's going to give them a bunch of money to save their dog. And I understand that. I'm very lucky. And Yujiro is very lucky that even with that treatment, that he was in the right state to be saved. And, honestly, I just want to thank everyone for everything they've done. And it just means the world to us. It's been a hard time for us. And that's really about it. That's kind of the whole Yujiro saga. Hopefully I'll update you guys with him being 100%. But I just wanted to let everyone know that's why I hadn't been on the show. That's why I haven't been doing anything. Just a lot of stuff going on. And, we're just happy at the end of this, no matter what ever happens with anything, that Yujiro is better. That's the thing I think, honestly, we're most relieved about. Like, we just could not breathe.
Oh, my God. No.
Like, we just could not breathe. But and it's not so much like if it was Yujiro's time, it was Yujiro's time, but just the uncertainty of not knowing and just the fact that he's done so well, I just feel like I can breathe again. And that's basically it, guys. Thanks for watching. This is a super long video at this point. Might edit some of it down or whatever, but regardless, thanks, guys. If you want to help out and support us and Yujiro, there's the link down below. And thank you, guys. for a special noise.
I'm a cat in a box, looking at you, feeling me. Won't you come and pet me? Pet me.